Hey y'all, Jill here. Welcome back to the farm. I have been laid up in bed all day. It is now well into the afternoon and Nathan's gone with the kiddos, so I could just rest, but I was really just feeling the need to kind of move a little. My heart wanted to go check on the garden, but my mind knew better. I knew Nathan would kill me. So the only way to get down to the garden is we've got the stairs from the front, or there are the stairs from the back. And it's the hottest part of the day. Like I knew that was a bad idea. I needed to save that for a day that I was feeling a little bit better, and also Nathan, was home in case something happened. But I'll have these like sudden bursts of energy, right? Where like I lay down for hours and I'm just really, really zonked and tired. And then I'll have these moments where it's like my body is aching and just needs to move a little. And I'm really kind of needing to like keep my mind busy. So I've been getting caught up on all of my friends' YouTube videos. I literally watched like the last 3 months of Jess and Maya's videos, which was fun to kind of see all the new things going on their farm. And then I found some new homestead channels too, all about like preservation, which was really fun. And so I'm trying to be a good sport. I know in yesterday's video I was kind of just mentally, I think just drained, just mentally in a place of just feeling not well, and I just had to have some time with Jesus and realize, you know what, this is what I'm dealt right now, and my attitude really makes the difference. I'm gonna have a good attitude and I'm gonna do what I can do. So I know that I can do something in increments without overdoing it, and that's sourdough, and that's actually something I really enjoy doing. So we're gonna grab Otis, who is my sourdough starter, out of the fridge and feed him, and then I'm gonna try a new recipe with the discard that I've never tried before. So the fun thing about sourdough is that you can do it in these increments, which is nice because it can allow me to get up for small periods of time and do the bulk rise or add a few ingredients, maybe do some shaping, but I'm not stuck like spending hours, in the kitchen working on it. Still a little wobbly getting around, but I'm getting there. So here's my starter. Every time I use Otis, to say I make a loaf, I think the last thing I made was a focaccia maybe. I always refeed. So anytime I'll feed it, bake whatever I'm baking, I'll refeed Otis with the 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of starter, and put it back in the fridge. So it always has risen quite a bit, which you guys can see here. All those nice active air bubbles are actually what you want. But then you can actually take that discard and make a lot of different things. And so the last recipe I tried was I made a chocolate chip cookie for the girls. They really liked it. And today I'm gonna try this new recipe because surprisingly I have everything on hand and it seems relatively easy. And for me, I think this really applies. It doesn't matter if you're doing sourdough or you're preserving anything. Try an easy recipe first. Like, don't try maybe the most intricate bread recipe or intricate way of preserving something to try your hand at it for the first time, because more than likely you won't be that successful. There'll be learning things you can learn throughout that process. And so for me, I make a lot of discard things, but not a lot of like off the wall, right? So it's the cookies, it's, naan, crackers, pancakes. Those are relatively easy things to make anyways. And then once I get really skilled and I can kind of, make those recipes just off of memory, then maybe I might try finding some more advanced recipes. And so I would encourage you to do that too if you're wanting to venture into sourdough, maybe this fall or maybe this summer. Just try a daily loaf and maybe just try a basic focaccia with some ingredients you have out in your garden, a tomato, basil focaccia bread or something. And then maybe you can get into some of these specialty loaves, which require a bit more time and attention. All right, so the recipe I'm making today is, I can't pronounce it, so I'm just gonna show you, but look, they look amazing. So this is gonna make about 3 dozen, which is way more than I want left in the household. I love sweets, and so typically I don't keep them in-house because I'll eat them all. So I'll probably keep about 2 dozen for us, let Nathan take a dozen, you know, to work or something like that. We'll share. We have a lot of people in and out right now, just checking on us and bringing us stuff. So that's one of those things that I can thank them for checking on me and then send them out the door with something too, which makes me feel better. If you're like me in that regards, then you already know it's so hard just to let people take care of you. And so this is a fun little thing I can do and then kind of, you know, give back to. All right, so before I plop my honey in my chair, I need to gather everything. You're gonna need a bowl. I get asked about my pottery bowls all the time. All of my pottery, bowls, plates, a lot of my mugs, things like that, all come from Old Dog Pottery. They live local to me up on Petit Jean Mountain. And gosh, they're just some sweet, sweet folks. So I'll find them and link them down for you. But obviously I need a bowl. You're gonna need your sourdough starter. I am gonna grab my vanilla extract. It says all-purpose flour, baking powder, sugar, and sea salt. So while I am gathering supplies, my sweet Charlie decided to organize the kitchen for me, which was extremely helpful. However, I now know where nothing is, so she has taken all of the spices and put them in orderly rows. A little bit painful to laugh. So everyone knows your messy cabinets, you don't ever want anyone to come and rearrange them because you know exactly where everything is. She was being so helpful, but now I'm on the hunt for baking powder. So I know all you mamas out there are probably yelling at me through the TV screen saying, sit your butt down, you need to rest. I know. I promise I am listening to my body. However, I kind of expressed with you guys yesterday, like mentally I need to do something, even if it's a small something. So even just being in the kitchen for 20 minutes making this recipe with you guys really does make me feel a lot better. I am listening to my body, I am trying to heal, but keeping my mind in a good place is also really important. So I promise I am taking care of me. So I'm gonna take 2 eggs and whisk them in with the ricotta and the starter. Thankfully we had some eggs in the fridge because I don't really trust how long these eggs have been sitting on the counter. So I was able to pull from the refrigerator eggs, which was nice. I was actually talking to Nathan today about really wanting to build out our flock and add some really pretty egg layers. If you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. Some of the ones I'm wanting to add are the True Whiting Blue and the True Whiting Green, along with some Copper Moran. So just more prominent green and blues, and then some dark browns. We don't really have any dark brown layers in our flock right now that I would really like to kind of expand on. We get all of our birds right now from Murray McMurray, and we've had really good success with them. So that's probably who we'll be ordering from in the future, but just some suggestions would be really nice. All right, so I'm gonna put 120 grams of starter. All right, so that left me with a little bit left, so I can add back to, which will be nice. I ended up having 140 grams of starter. I don't really worry about that if it's a bit over, since I dumped it directly in with the eggs. I'm not gonna try to like scoop out starter or anything. And so now I'm gonna add 125 grams of the ricotta. It does say that it needs to be at room temperature. All right, 124 grams. And then it says add the vanilla. And that looks like a half a teaspoon, so I am just gonna eyeball that one. Then I'll take it off the scale and just mix it all together really well. You know, as I was laid up in bed, as I have been laid up in bed, I've been getting caught up on all of my favorite YouTubers and kind of like just going back, you know, back to the beginning. I think, well, I know that, you know, God will allow certain things to take place in your life for a certain reason, and I don't ever question that. No matter what it is, no matter the outcome of it, no matter how hard the situation may seem, I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and that there's something you can learn in the process. And if I'm just being completely transparent, over the last few days, I've been in a place where I've been fearful of what the future holds. I've been frustrated with my inability to do things. It's been, the unknown scary, right? The unknown is scary on so many different levels. But had I not been forced to sit, then I would have never had the opportunity to think through some of the things that I'm thinking through right now. And that was, man, just reminiscing on how it used to be, right? And making sure that I stay in a place to where I don't ever forget where I came from. I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across this account that I follow, and I don't even remember. It's like Shovel and Spade or something like that. I don't know. They make these wool covers for mason jars and cans and like wine bottles and all sorts of stuff. But I remember when I was first starting out, these were one of the first accounts I started following. And while it wasn't a homestead or a farming account, it was an account that I really looked up to. She'd make these wool soaps, and for me that was very natural and holistic. And I remember, you know, one of my friends had one of these woolies on their mason jar, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And when I went to go look at it, they're really expensive. I mean, it's made out of wool, right? It's handmade. Like, I can understand why it was so expensive. But at the time, it was just never something in my wildest mind I could spend that amount of money for. And so it was something as silly as just this little mason jar cover that I longed for and longed for. I never ended up buying it, but as the years have changed, I'm in a position now where I could buy that if I wanted to. And I came across their page today, and it brought me back to that time where I was, you know, sitting in my living room, not on a farm, not growing of any scale, and desperately wanting this wool mason jar cover that I couldn't afford. And fast forward a few years, I'm sitting in a kitchen I could only ever dream of, on a farm with gardens as large as my eye can see, sweet little goats that one day will be my milking breed, my little milking herd, you know, with pigs and high tunnels, and I have everything my heart could ever desire. And I think back to that, you know, time in my life where I just so desperately yearned for a wool mason jar cover. And it really spoke to me, because I don't ever want to forget that moment of wanting something so bad and longing and working so hard for that. And now, while now if I wanted to go get that mason jar cover, I have the ability to. That feels really good, you know, knowing that I've worked hard to achieve that. It's not about having the money to purchase it, right? It's about that longing for something so bad. And while I was laid up in bed today, I just prayed, and I prayed that the Lord would give me that longing for something again. And I love my life. Please do not hear me wrong. I wake up every day filled with purpose, and I love what I get to do. It's a privilege and an honor. But I'm not in a position where I spend diligent time praying that God would fulfill the need I had for a wool mason jar cover. And I just prayed that God would give that back to me. And it may not be for something I'm desiring. It might be to partner along with the desires of someone else. And sometimes it takes moments like this kind of knocking you on your butt for you to just sit back and realize what you're missing. So I just want you to know, if you are in the waiting stages of where you are, if you are longing for something that may seem so simple to anyone else, but it holds so much value to you, I just want you to know that I'm spending my time not being able to do as much, and I am just partnering with you in prayer that God would give you the desires of your heart, because I know one day that's going to be a really sweet story you can look back on and encourage or motivate someone else, or even just to hold on to for yourself. I know for me, it was just this sweet thing of like, Lord, you are so good to me. And it brought me back to reality a bit on the things that need to take priority and the things that can kind of take a bit of a back seat. All right, back to bacon. We're gonna add the flour. So we're adding 120 grams of all-purpose flour, which isn't really a lot. Whoops. We're gonna add 10 grams of baking powder. $50 grams of sugar. And then you're gonna add a pinch of sea salt. Alrighty, so now I'm just gonna take my wooden spatula and stir it all. I think I'm done with my scale. Make sure it's all good incorporated. It's supposed to be like this, oh gosh, really thick batter. Alrighty, so it's supposed to have turned into a thick batter, which it did. Don't worry, I'm allowed to lift a milk jug. This doesn't weigh as much as a milk jug, so we're okay there. It smells really good. I can smell that vanilla, super prominent. It looks just like a really thick, like, pancake batter. It looks sticky, and that's probably just from the sourdough starter. So now I'm actually gonna take the oil. I'm just gonna use like a vegetable oil, and I'm gonna heat it up in a pan, because that's where I'm gonna plop these into. All right, it says a little bit of vegetable oil. I don't actually have vegetable oil, so I'm using olive oil. We'll see. Just gonna pour a little bit in there, just enough to where it can fry. And then I'm probably gonna put it on medium. Our oven, our stove gets super hot, so if it says medium, I'll probably do like low. And then I'm gonna let it heat up. And we'll toss them in. So while I've also been cooped up on the couch, I have been catching up on my reading, something I'm actually really excited about. I mentioned earlier about spending years longing to have dairy goats, and just, I have this romantic idea of waking up every morning with my cup of coffee, going outside milking my goats. And so whenever we got goats, my heart just filled up with joy, but I knew I still wasn't where I could be milking them. So our plan is actually to breed them this fall to kid into the spring. And so I'm really kind of designating, you know, a lot of my fall and winter, really just gaining a lot of knowledge on what that looks like to make sure I feel good and equipped for when that moment comes. I'm reading a book right now called Raising Dairy Goats for the homestead small farm and backyard something maybe. I don't know, but I would love to know any resources you have, whether that's, you know, books or YouTube channels or whatever. I'm really kind of in the thick of just doing my research on that. So it's going to be our Nubian Nigerian mix that we're going to be breeding. So they're two sisters that I got up in Kansas. And so we are just going to rent a buck. Is what we're going to do. We don't actually want to keep a buck on our farm, but we are going to rent one just to breed and then not really have to worry about him hanging around. And I'm so excited, but there is kind of that like, oh my gosh, I want to make sure I do it right, you know what I mean? And I'm sure like with your first time with anything, there's going to be mistakes, but I do want to make sure that I at least have put in all the required knowledge I need to make sure that I've done everything that I possibly could to set them up, you know, for being pregnant and giving birth and then delivery and stuff like that. So I'd love your guys' feedback on that as well. Alrighty, let's test this out. The water is boiling. It says an ice cream scoop would be best, and it probably would. Of course, I don't own anything like that. So I'm just taking a small little scoop And I'm gonna pop it in and see what happens. It says you can leave it in there for about 2 to 3 minutes and it will start to float to the top when it's ready. Y'all, I am so excited for these. Nothing has sounded appealing to me the last few days. I've like craved Indian food on and off, and then when Nathan offered to cook it, I like didn't have an appetite for it anymore, and so these just seem like light and fluffy, make me think of the fair. So I'm actually real excited about these. So I've got just a slotted spoon here with holes, and then you can guys see they brown up, and then I'm just gonna stick them on a plate with a towel, and once they cool off, I'll just like sprinkle some powdered sugar on them, and essentially they're gonna be like these little bitty like funnel cakes, I think. So I think the girls are really gonna like me whenever they get home and I've made this little treat. I certainly don't think they will have been expecting it. Alright, so I'm going to move to the table and sit down and sift some powdered sugar over these. I thought I had a little hand sifter. Apparently I don't, and this one clearly has seen better days, but I feel like it's one of those things you don't realize all the kitchen utensils you really need until you get ready to need it, and you're like, oh, yeah, actually I don't have that. So I'm going to try to make this work. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to take my fingers and just sprinkle some on. So, not to toot my own horn or anything, but for a sick gal, these look pretty good. They smell amazing. The kids are actually walking in the door as we speak. So, I'll probably let them help me with this part. Hey, girl.
Hey, Mommy.
How are you?
Good.
I made you guys a treat.
What is it?
It's like a funnel cake, but I'm gonna sprinkle some powdered sugar over it. Did you have fun with Dad?
Yeah.
Did y'all get all the animal feed?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna help you, Mommy.
You gonna help me?
What are those? I open it.
Okay, that's all we need.
Okay, now.
Hold that chart.
I want to dump it.
Is this powdered sugar?
I want to dump it too.
Here, take your hand, shake it. Good girl.
Bro, get it on me.
All right. Okay, hang on just a second. Let's put this back in there. All right, Dad and the girls are home. Y'all come here. I told you guys Nathan's gonna get on to me. But I
get home, she's supposed to be resting, and she's
assured him I took it in
baking or
doses.
frying.
He thinks the house kind of stinks. You guys sit down, Junie, okay? I'm gonna give you one to try.
What is it?
Well, you're gonna try it.
What is that?
You wanna try one? It might be kind of hot. Dad, you and I can split one.
Okay.
Oh my word. It's like a funnel cake. Oh my gosh. That'll bring your spirits up in a heartbeat.
It tastes like sourdough, but it's a bun.
Let me make sure yours is
Do
good.
you like it too? Is it good, Junie?
June, let me see if yours tastes good.
Man, these are dangerous. So these took me literally no time. Like you just dump all the ingredients together.
From discard or from?
Yeah, from the sourdough discard. It took no time at all.
Wow.
Wow.
All right, June.
All right, I'm gonna link the cookbook because the recipe's in the cookbook. This is not my own.
Oh, that's all.
I promise you guys I am taking it easy, but trust me, I needed this. My soul needed this. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. Oh, let Mama help you. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you all being so just considerate and thoughtful throughout this entire healing process. I promise I am listening to my body, but like I said, just mentally I need to be able to do something, and it might look like small bursts in the kitchen, making sourdough or getting up, hanging out with the kids. But I appreciate all your kind words, and thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you soon.